Here on the YouTubes today, we have something that has been a long time coming. And I've got to be honest with you, I don't remember what the reason is that I wanted this to start with. A little bit of a backstory. In 2019, you might remember that I went to the Peoria Area Amateur Radio Club Superfest in Peoria, Illinois, with a group of friends, and we all engaged in a sort of swap fest, if you want to call it that, beforehand. Well, of course, 2020, we all know what happened that year, and 2021, I could not attend because, obviously, with the things that were ongoing, the U.S.-Canada border was closed. Crossing it was not an option, so as I understand it, I don't remember who brought it to my attention. Before basically doing a further inspection on this a couple of days ago, I didn't even know who had offered it up as part of the little swap fest beforehand. But I now know, and honestly, the first clue should have been the fact that it says Microworx computers on the front, but that's neither here nor there. It was offered up. Nobody that was actually in attendance spoke for it. Somebody brought it to my attention that it was there, and I said, sure, why not? So then it sat south of the border until this past weekend. At least as I'm recording this video, it was this past weekend. And then it finally followed me home. So what is it? Well, it's a beige box, that's what it is. Take a look here, you can see Microworx computers. Intel Pentium 2, I think it has MMX, but I don't actually know. It might not, because I know it doesn't say MMX on it, but I'm not sure if the sleep button on this is hooked up. I've never actually seen that work properly on anything. So, I guess there's one thing. It's a pretty classy looking case, if I do say so myself. It's a little bit yellowed, but, you know, what beige box isn't yellowed these days? It's got a very inappropriate looking 40-speed optical drive. It is only a CD-ROM drive, so I guess it's got that going for it, but I'm not sure if 40-speed was really commonplace when the Pentium 2 came out. I would have expected to see like a 24, or maybe even a 32, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe somebody splurged. So, there's a relatively nondescript power supply. There's a lovely little tag down here, which actually gives away where it came from. And then we've got a nondescript I/O plate, 2 serial ports, 2 USB ports, PS2 keyboard and mouse. There's no audio, at least not onboard, and there's no game port, because I think that usually was part of the onboard audio. There's a spot for a fan that this doesn't have. Here's your video. It's just standard Super VGA. It's got an Ethernet card below that. Looks like it might even be an Intel card, which would be pretty neat. It's either an Intel or a 3Com. I'll pop the cover and find out. And then there is a sound card right below that. But, all in all, it's just a nondescript beige box with a Pentium 2 on it. What makes this thing so intriguing? Well, the first step's to pop the cover, and this, I will admit, confused the heck out of me. We've got a sort of chicken and egg problem going on here, and I'll explain why. So, you can see that there's basically only one screw in the back, but yet this doesn't pop off. In order to get this to come off, you have to remove the faceplate, which seems to be relatively easy to do, but you'll notice, when I get it off, we'll see once it's removed, it's got these little things to hook it into place. And you can see one of them is actually broken. Now, to my line of thinking, that means that you should have to remove the side panel first in order to get the faceplate off. But you can't do that because there's a lip right here which binds up against this front faceplate. And again, even with that removed, it's kind of difficult to get the side panel off. So what was a fairly nice looking case is actually kind of cumbersome to work with. Now, that is a solid steel side panel, and this case is made out of very heavy gauge metal, so I guess I can't gripe about it too much, but you know, that is still kind of annoying. But either way, once we got the cover off, we can see inside. There's your power supply, 250 watts. Not the highest quality looking thing in the world, even though it says high quality right on it. That's usually the first red flag. But it probably works just fine. Can't envision there being too many issues with it. There is our CPU. Now, I don't know if we can actually read the ratings on this in this lighting, or if that's not really an option. It looks like, what does that say, 400? I think that says 400, 512K cache, 100 megahertz front side bus, 2 volts. But I can't really tell, and I don't think the camera can really tell either. That's not really all that interesting. Neither is the RAM. I don't remember how much RAM it has on it. I would say maybe like 192 megabytes, somewhere around there. That would be my guess. That video card is just an ATI Rage 3D thing. Not all that interesting. It actually looks kind of warped, which I'm sure is real good for it. But the thing that is most intriguing about this whole setup is the motherboard. I don't see these very often. This is, you can see there, it says AB-BH6. This is an ABit motherboard. It's actually an ABit BH6, if you couldn't guess. Now, happens to be my initials, which is pretty cool, but it's just kind of neat to see an ABit board in the wild. I think I've only ever seen one other, and I have it, if you remember that dual Celeron system, that was a BP6. This is probably not too much of a distant cousin to that, being a BH6, but maybe they're completely different. I don't know how ABit's model numbers worked. But I'm not sure what sound card that is. It doesn't really... Well, it probably does on that sticker right there, but I'm not going to be able to read that. That is a 3Com network card. You have a hard drive, which I don't think has been wiped. I know it's got a... I have powered it up. I know what it's got on it. I also know that that hard drive is a little bit worse for the wear. I'm not sure. Certainly some part of the travel. It was missing a screw, which I've added back. And I'm sure that that probably didn't help it any. But it does click and clack every once in a while and spin down and spin back up. So it does certainly have some issues that will need to be straightened out. But it's certainly a workable machine nonetheless. It's got a fan in the front, a magic fan in the front. Fancy. So, anyway, I think that's pretty much it that I can think of to call out. But the internal contents, the CMOS battery is dead. I'll have to replace that, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. I haven't tested the floppy or the optical drives, no idea if they work. At least somebody thought to hook up the audio connection, because on systems like this, running audio over the IDE bus is absolutely a non-starter, so if I ever wanted to use it as a standalone DVD player, well, no, this would not be able to play DVDs, there's no way. Standalone CD player, I certainly could. Okay, so just in case I didn't put the front faceplate back on, but everything else is on. So, I think we're ready to go. Alright, of course it worked. Pentium 2 at 266. Okay, well that's not set right. I'm going to have to check the jumpers on this, I think. It's not doing anything further. I think it locked up. There it goes. 196. CPU is unworkable or has been changed. Please recheck CPU soft menu. Oh great, this has got one of the software control ones. 20 gigabyte hard drive. Alright, we'll go into setup. CPU soft menu 2. Operating speed is, I think it's a 400. I want to say it's a 400. I'm going to say turbo frequency no. I think it said 400 on it though. I'm not sure if this thing will actually save settings outside of setup. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I can set this. In fact, actually, let's go ahead and just save and exit. See what it does. I mean, the worst thing it can do is not work, right? Pentium 2 at 400. So, I might be overclocking it now. Press N to boot from network. And now we are starting Windows. Windows 2000. Now, I know I've had issues with this hard drive before. Making noises. There's probably a couple of bad spots on it. Or maybe I just needed to exercise it a little bit. Alright. It's a pretty bare installation. There's not much really left on here. Okay. You can see, there's your information. 196 kilobytes. I think that does work out to 192 meg. So that's not bad. It is running Service Pack 4. Not much interesting really to look at here. No unknown devices. 3D Rage Pro 2 speed, 2 times AGP, 2x AGP, whatever it is that you want to call it. Stop. I want to look. Samsung optical drive. There's your 3Com Etherlink XL. Yamaha DS1. So it's probably a generic sound card. That would be my guess. Like I mentioned, as far as data is concerned, there's not much on here. There's like 2 gigs, which I think is pretty much just the installation of Windows. And probably maybe a couple of other things, but it's not going to have much in it. The only thing that I can find that's a trace of anything is if we come in here, there's a couple of things here. That's just a cookie. A couple of cookies for things. Somebody probably browsed back in the day. Are there dates on any of those? I didn't want the desktop. 2011. Okay, well, that gives us some kind of an idea as to when it was last used for anything. Like I said, the only thing in here that's of really much interest to anybody is this little thing here that says First Class. If I remember right, that's an email and conferencing client that I believe SoftKey had something to do with. So it's not on here anymore, or at least if it was, it's not. If it still is, it's not set up. Like it's not in the start menu. It's not really anywhere. There is a text file here that I obviously can't open. It's long gone, so that kind of sucks. But oh well. C program files First Class. So there's some vestiges of it still left over, but yeah, there we go. But there's nothing really there. So I'll probably be a good boy and just erase this. It'll probably just end up getting Windows 2000 again, because I can't really think of any other operating system I'd want to put on this. Maybe Haiku, but, you know, I might actually do that. I haven't done that. I think I've got one physical system that's running it already, but this might be an interesting thing to use to play around with it, because it's some more generic hardware. I've got it on a Pentium 4, I think, right now. This might be a little too old for that, though, when it gets right down to it, so... Well, it is what it is. There's your little Pentium 2. I still don't know what speed the CPU is actually supposed to be, but it seems to be okay at 400 megahertz, so I guess that's a thing. So I guess on that note, I'm going to stop the video there. So, thank you for watching, and if you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below. Also notable, this thing does not have ACPI functioning right now. Doesn't default to it anyway. So we get the "it is now safe to turn off your computer," although soft power off also doesn't really work. And it just turned itself back on. Alright. Anyway, this is a very substantial power switch on this. I'm almost wondering if that's a rough conversion from, very rough conversion from, the AT days.